Hello, 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 hello. Hi, sir. Hi, hi, hi. Hello. Hi, sir. You can hear me. Thank you, Sati, sir. Thank you, Kumar, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I think Swetha will be joining soon. Hi, Bhagwan. Hi, Vinita. Hi, Swetha. Hello. Hello, everyone. Swetha, I've just sent you. Swetha, Swetha, Swetha. Hi, good evening, everyone. Hey, hi, Swetha. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice to
So,
see you too, Vijay.
yeah. So there are a lot of friends joining across.
Yeah.
So you are, am I audible, Shweta, to you?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you are also, clear and visible. So
Great.
what's the time in US now?
It's 6:30 in the morning here.
It's 6:30 in the morning. My goodness. Hi, Mansi. So for the first
Hi.
few minutes, we will just say hi, hello to everyone who's there, and
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you so
a
much
lot
for
of
joining in. Yeah.
lot of them are excited to listen or hear the story of Shweta. Dr. Kumar sir is saying good morning to Shweta. Yeah, so
Good
Shweta,
morning,
you need
Doc.
to answer. Hi Romel. Hi
Hi,
Prabha.
Prabha.
Hi
Hi.
Alka.
Prabha.
So we'll be starting in a couple of minutes because I think a lot of other friends are joining. Everyone wants to hear the unknown journey of Shweta Amit. So even I would be glad to hear though I know much of your story,
Yeah.
being associated as a friend, both running as well as being an author.
Yeah.
In fact, guys, uh, a warm welcome to all of you. And, it's a proud moment to introduce Shweta Amit. Shweta is based in US right now, and it's 6:30 a.m. there. And thanks for joining, Shweta. And Shweta is a triathlete, an author. Uh, to be an author, her book is coming,
Yeah.
is going to release soon. So we'll speak on that. And an amazing transformation from uh, distance runner to a triathlete now, and an amazing fitness freak, ably supported by Amit and the daughter
Definitely.
Samaira. So we'll be knowing more about Shweta in very few minutes, because there are people. Hi, nine paratrooper. Yeah, so a lot of them. In fact, Vishu is also live right now on MRR page. So probably we
Mm-hmm.
will have to catch up his recording there. So Shweta,
Yeah.
so welcome, and like we move into the Hi Aditi, we move into the interview section rather. So,
Sure.
so all of us know Shweta Amit. Shweta Amit. When people say Shweta, so everyone relates first as a someone like who's very passionate about book, who's very passionate about writing, who's very passionate
Mm-hmm.
about blogging, and
Yeah.
last 2 3 years, there's a different dimension of Shweta Amit, from being a runner to a triathlete. That's an amazing journey wherein you have three sports: running, cycling, and swimming. And I understand you picked up swimming in the last 3 years, if I'm not wrong. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 So the journey is amazing, because being from Navy, I know how difficult picking up swimming at a later stage of your life is. So, so to begin with, so what was the journey of Shweta? Like when you grew up to your schooling, and from your college days and to running. So if you can tell us short on currently where you are based, so that a lot of them doesn't know. Hi, Ranjita. Yeah, Shweta, all yours.
So I'm currently based in California, And Vijay, my fitness journey, well, I was never an athletic kid in school. I was always this plump kid who would sit out of games lessons and I would read books instead. And I was very conscious about my plump physique. So I really never got into any kind of competitive sport as such. So the only sport I came close to was swimming, which I learned at the age of 11, and a little bit of table tennis. And the other games that I would play were probably the games you would play with the kids in your neighborhood, like lock and key or hide and seek. So I never ventured into any competitive sport as such. So
Okay.
after marriage, Amit introduced me to the gym in 2008. And I started gymming. I started, losing weight. I started feeling fit. But what happened? My lifestyle at that time was haywire. It would involve a lot of late nights, alcohol, partying, eating out, eating at irregular intervals. So after 2 years, my system collapsed. I was hospitalized for 10 days. And the doctor said I have a condition called ulcerative colitis. And he
Oh,
said it's a chronic condition and there's no medication. It has to be controlled or contained only with temporary medication, and you need to change your lifestyle. So at that time, I saw a dead end because I couldn't go out, I couldn't party, I couldn't drink alcohol, I couldn't eat out. All my socializing had come to an end. And I didn't know what to do. So I couldn't lift weights in the gym like I used to. Because obviously I lost a lot of blood, I lost a lot of my strength, and I lost a lot of my self-confidence in the process. So that's when Amit said that why don't you start running with me? Because Amit had already run the 2 editions of the Mumbai Marathon then. And he said, why don't you train with me? We'll run next year together. So that's how I started running slowly. It began with about 15-20 minutes on the treadmill. And then eventually we went out on the road. And also that year it was very difficult because my diet was just boiled food without any salt.
oh,
So it was
okay.
very, very difficult. Yeah, because I couldn't take salt mainly because I was on steroids as medication. So the doctor said, if you don't want to put on weight by steroids, avoid salt in your diet. So it was pretty depressing. So running was the only thing that kept me going that year. And when I ran my first edition of the Mumbai Marathon in 2012, I crossed the finish line close to 2 hours. I mean, that time we didn't have any kind of training plan as such. We've just run for 3 days in a week. And when I crossed the finish line, something in me changed, Vijay. I don't know what it was. It was like probably the endorphins kicking, the runner's high. I don't know what it was, but something changed. And I said, this is what I wanted to keep doing for the rest of my life. And that's how running became a part of my life. And it's continuing to be a part of my life. And it will do so forever till my last breath.
Okay. So, Amit started running before you, right? I mean, so
Yeah, he started running
before
in
you,
2009.
okay. So before US, you guys were in Mumbai, and prior to Mumbai, where were you guys?
I was in Chennai and Amit was in Delhi. So we both met, we got married, and after marriage, we moved to Mumbai. So we moved to Mumbai in
Okay.
2006. And yeah.
Okay. And then from say 2006 till 2012, there was no particular fitness regime as per.
No, there was like in 2008 when I joined the gym, it was cardio on the cross trainer and a lot of weight training. So that was from 2008 to 2010. 2011, I started running. And
Okay.
of course, I would gym also, but a large chunk of my fitness was running.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then so Amit was running before that, and then in 2012 you ran your first half marathon.
Half marathon. And
Yeah.
2013, Amit and I ran a full marathon in Mumbai again
Wow, wow.
in 1 year.
So
Yeah.
that particular thing of your life, very few of us know that you ran a full marathon in 2013, and then again you
Yeah.
shifted back to half marathons. So,
Yeah.
so how tough was that journey from, doctors saying that, it's a chronic, and then you are not advised to have certain types of food and things like that. So how difficult that was. Why I'm asking you this question is, a lot of our friends who are seeing this, and a lot of people, a lot of students who will be watching this, it's a story of grit. It's a story of guts. A lot of people tend to give up. They will say, "Chhod yaar karke," I will leave. So, how that journey of, how that transformation happened from losing everything to, okay, this is my space. So we would like to know more about that space.
So, Vijay, for those 10 days in the hospital, I suffered. I lost blood. I don't know what was going on in my body. I felt I was going to die at one point in time. Whenever I see any kind of food that tempts me, I just think back to that 10 days when I suffered, and I said, is it worth going through that again? No. And that's how I resist the food. That's how I say, no, it's not worth it. And for me, I want to be alive. I want to be fit. I want to be on my feet. And it's not really worth indulging in a few moments of pleasure to suffer all over again. And I think it's all in the mind. If you condition your mind, I think nothing is impossible. You
Yeah,
just got to keep telling yourself, yeah.
So that's Swetha, like if throughout this talk, if we start taking learnings, I think this is one of the first learning. Mind is that powerful tool for all of us. All of us who are hobby athletes or even from the armed forces. Mind is everything. Mind takes you. So that first take from this talk is mind. So you believed in the power of mind, and then
Yeah.
that's the time you shifted from 2012, and then you started running. So how difficult was a transition from a half marathon in 2012 to a full marathon in 2013? Because now when you see back, like all of us are runners, so traditionally, there is no logic. A lot of people do a 10, then a half, and a full in a year, these days. So if I come from a old school of thought where, my coaches then and even today believe that you have to do a certain number of, say, 10 kilometers, half marathon. That journey has to be beautiful. End of the day, we are a hobby athlete and you need to take that journey so beautifully. So how difficult or how easy was that 1 year from a half to full? So if you can throw light on that. And one more question parallel to
Mhm.
this is, will you advise people, in this short span of, say, time, to take that certain jump from a half marathon to full marathon? Yeah.
So first thing, I wouldn't advise people to jump distances very fast, because I'm telling you from my own experience. And what happened was, when I started running in 2012, I was so addicted to running. And I was, I think, 31 then, 30 or 31 then. So then Amit and I decided it's time for us to start a family. So I wanted to do something worthwhile before I start a family. And that's when Amit and I told Amit that I'll start a family, but you run the full marathon with me. I don't know what made me say it. I just said it in the spur of the moment. It was an impulsive decision. And I said, let's register for the full. I'm strong. It was just in the mind again. I never thought so much. I never thought, how will I train? I didn't have any kind of coach. I didn't have any kind of formalized training plan. The distance didn't dot me. I said, let's run the 42. And then we started training in June. And we were running, we would just increase our distances every Sunday. We used to run on Marine Drive. So we would just increase our distance every Sunday. And we felt we ran maximum, I think, 35 kilometers on the road, and we felt we were ready. But I had an injury after my first full. I had an injury on my ankle. And so I was limping after I crossed the finish line. So, because obviously my body wasn't used to training so much. So definitely it was a great experience. I was happy to be called a marathoner, but I wouldn't advise people to jump distances so far. Yes, I do believe that you need to do a certain amount of halves to probably graduate to a full.
Correct. And so that was the time, like when you were also working, you are still working. I know you are working with Domain B. And
Yeah.
were you working that time, around about 2012, 13?
Incidentally, in 2012, when I thought I lost everything, running came into my life. That same consequent year, the same year, I became a journalist. I mean, I found my true calling in journalism. Before that, I was writing for Domain B. I was a feature writer for Domain B on book reviews and travel articles. And that year in 2012 October, I remember my boss coming and telling me, why don't you explore interviewing authors? So my first interview was with Mr. R. Gopal Krishnan, who was executive director of Tata Sons. And then I found that I found my true calling. I mean, it was just a wonderful experience interviewing people, authors on their books, and getting to know their journey. And I said I was good at this. And I've never done any course in journalism. I have a major in psychology. And I said, I'm good at this and I love doing this. And from there on, picked up, and I've been interviewing a lot of authors since then. So yeah, I mean, running and journalism came the same year, incidentally. So that was the most funny part.
And then which year was Samaira born?
2014 April. So
Okay. So,
yeah.
the journey, if you see, is like 2012, the half marathon, 2013, the full marathon, along with your work. And, so was this journey of Domain B, where you interview a lot of authors, was it very demanding or something like that? Like a normal 9 to 5 or 9 to 5 is like X years back, Now it's like 9 to, you don't know till when. So was
9
that
to exactly.
journey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
so was
really.
that journey tough?
Not really. It is demanding on the brain because, see, since I specialize in the area of books, I'm required to read a lot before I interview the author. So I need to read a lot of the author's works. I need to read up a lot, basically. So it's definitely demanding on the mind. And when I frame the questions, I also need to think a lot. So it's demanding that way. But I think my bosses are pretty reasonable that if I do 2-3 interviews in a month, they're happy with it. So they leave it to me on how I go about it. So it's not that demanding, but definitely challenging on the mind for sure.
Okay. And then, so when did you resume your retraining? Like after Samaira, then did you run thereafter the subsequent half marathons in Mumbai or close by anywhere?
Yeah, so Samara was born in April 2014 on April 24th, and I resumed fitness within 3 days. I came back from the hospital. I had a normal delivery, and I was working out throughout my pregnancy. I never
Oh,
stopped
okay.
working. I was running
Oh,
also because doctor said I could run. I didn't have any complications. I ran about 5 kilometers, so I continued running, and I ran a 10K in RA Mill Colony 2 months within my delivery in June.
oh,
And then I ran a half marathon in that December in Chennai. So I continued running. I mean, running never stopped for me, no matter what.
okay. So 2014. And then to all the friends who are listening this, I must tell you, so those who have joined late, the journey is so beautiful of Swetha. Not many of us know. Those close to her knows her wonderful journey. So we have just covered her journey from 2018 part. I will mix and match it. So a lot of people know Swetha as an author, as a person who reads. Probably if you ask me, who's one friend of yours who only reads, then probably maybe that's you come into my mind first. Renata, Mansi, 3, 4 of you. So how did you how do you manage time? Like to read so much in spite of your work, training, then with family there, being in US. How do you manage that?
Okay, so the thing is, since I mentioned about my job involving interviewing authors, I need to read a lot, anyways, and so also I'm doing creative writing courses in Stanford now. So a lot of reading recommendations come from my professor, and I read a lot. A large part of my day goes into reading. And reading has always been a hobby, Vijay, ever since childhood. In fact, I would never watch TV. I would prefer reading a book or so. And that's continued even today. I don't watch much television except probably sports or sometimes movies. I don't really watch any of the Netflix series, Amazon Prime series. So I think a large part of my spare time is also spent in reading other books besides work and besides studies. Yeah, but during my triathlon training, which is very demanding, I probably do not get time to read that much because like a large portion of my time is spent in training. So that season, my reading comes down. But otherwise, throughout the year, I keep up my reading somehow. I at least read 50 to 100 pages every day. I allocate at least 1 hour, 2 hours for reading. So
So lot of friends commenting, and to everyone, hi again. And I think there was a question which said she had missed that first part. So
yeah.
you had an ailment. She wanted to know what was that. So if you can just repeat on that. Someone was who had a
Yeah,
chronic.
the ailment. Yeah. So the ailment was ulcerative colitis, and the doctor detected ulcers in my intestine. So I lost a lot of blood, and I lost a lot of my strength, my weight, my self confidence, everything. And it's just a chronic illness, and which does not have any cure. It's just that you have temporary medication, and it can occur anytime in my life. In fact, during my 8th month of pregnancy, I had an attack of ulcers again, but fortunately, nothing happened. Doctor gave me medication. I was fine before my delivery. But this has to be controlled with diet. Diet plays a main key here, and your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I've not had an attack ever since. So touch wood. Uh, so it's going fine. I mean, I'm just maintaining my diet, my lifestyle, and it's all good by God's grace.
So great. So we come back to the, that was only for someone who missed that. So as SN also said, so in your normal time, when you have time, you say you read 100 plus books in a year. And when you don't have time, you read 70, 75? No? 75 books?
75 books, yeah.
Yeah, 70, 75. So for people like us and many of us, we read 50 pages in a year, and then you read 50 pages in a day. So that's what the difference between Swetha and rest of us, right?
But Vijay, let me tell you, because my job involves reading, I read a lot. But if I had probably some other job, maybe I wouldn't have had so much time to read. So I completely empathize with people when they say they don't have time. Yeah.
True, 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 true. Still, like as we say in running also, time nikalna padta hai. There is
Yeah,
no,
true.
no time per se. So you have to take that time out. So
Yeah.
now coming back, so we will mix and match. It's not that I'll ask you about running or book. So we'll mix and match so that entire spectrum is covered. So right now, I believe you are doing a course at Stanford. You are doing a
Mhm.
creative writing course at Stanford. So how demanding is that? How
Oh,
demanding is that?
that is pretty demanding. So this is like you have on-campus classes only for 3 hours in 1 week, but the amount of material and the writing work that they give you is pretty demanding. And they give you lots to read, and they give you lots to write. They give you word prompts, so you need to keep writing word prompts. You also have to submit a large portion of your written work, say about 5 to 6 pages or 10 pages, and give it for peer critiquing. Your classmates would send you their work. You need to read it carefully and give them critique. You need to critique them on their work. So it's pretty demanding because sometimes reading too much can also get to you.
True,
And
true.
yeah, so that way, yeah, it's pretty challenging, but it's fun because I learned a lot in the last 2 3 years, and I think my writing has also improved. My ability to read and also understand different kind of authors and the themes that they cover is also improved. So it's been wonderful. No complaints at all.
And then what is the average number of days you take to read a book?
Depends on the book. If it's a thriller, sometimes I just finish it in one sitting, which is like 1 day. If it's a literary fiction, historical fiction, then I take about 2 to 3 days. Again, mythology, I take 1 or 2 days. So it depends on the book on how fast paced it is. So a thriller, definitely in one sitting.
So do you believe in fast reading, or do you just, take the concept, or you enjoy the reading per se?
I like literary fiction where it requires me to read slowly and steadily because I can actually experience the protagonist's emotions and also what the author is trying to convey. So I like slow reading a lot more. Fast reading is like going on this roller coaster ride in a theme park and then you're done. You have the thrill just for probably a minute for a short while, but I think I would say reading literary fiction or historical fiction is like probably a walk amidst nature. You get to experience and understand and feel everything what the author is trying to say. So that's how I would compare the both. I prefer slow reading any day.
Okay, great. Because, I recently, in this lockdown period, I was wondering how people read fast. I do read, but it takes pretty long. So I tried, I was part of a course called Fast Reading Course, and they
Mhm.
they showed you how to read fast, and it was pretty interesting. But in spite of that, the fastest book I could complete was, I guess, 3 days or 4 days. Whereas you do it in 1.5, 2 days. So that's the difference between us
Which
and
is
Shweta.
Yeah, which is fine, Vijay, because like I said, during my job, I remember I had to interview Gary Kirsten's wife, and I met her on Thursday, and she gave me the book, and I had to send her the questions on Friday evening. So I just had one day to complete the entire book, and that's how my speed picked up. So I think it's because of my job again. Yeah. So, but I
Okay.
think people can take their own time. It doesn't matter as long as you're reading. I mean, it doesn't matter how fast or how slow you go.
Okay. So great. Okay, Sachin is commenting. Shweta is one of the few people who are so deep into two of my loves, books and running. Yes, and agreed, and all of us agree that, you know. And now coming back to the first part, the running. Again, we will shift to this. So the journey from 2013, a full marathon. Thereafter, you continued with half marathon. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and before you could do another full, I guess you shifted to triathlete, you know,
Yeah.
being a triathlete. So, what triggered you to move from running, pure running, to a triathlon? What was that journey, Shweta?
Okay, so I was running in Mumbai. I was a runner. I had a community like Mumbai Road Runners. I had my partner to train with for my runs. And I was also a journalist back in Mumbai. So when I moved to California in 2017, I felt I lost my identity. I was just from a runner and a journalist. I was reduced to just being Amit's partner and Samara's mother, and I did not find a like-minded community in California initially. I couldn't run with Amit because he did not have time. He was doing courses at the Graduate School of Business in Stanford, so I did not. I wanted a new identity. I wanted to do something that would make me feel a sense of worth, or feel a sense of accomplishment. After a point, running wasn't giving me that kind of feeling, and I decided to challenge myself and do something that I thought was beyond my reach. So that's when I decided to do a triathlon. In fact, this is a dream I was harboring in India. I wanted to do the Hyderabad Olympic distance, which was in October 2017. But then before that, we moved to California. And then I've always been swimming in the pool. I've been strong in my swims in my pool. But what happened, I realized in California, the swims were all in the open water, in the ocean. And the oceans are pretty cold here. So I had to overcome my fear of open water. And then it was a very challenging journey. But then that's how I decided to go from running to triathlon, mainly because I think running wasn't giving me that kind of a high that it used to. And I also wanted a new identity. I wanted to do something that would make me feel, that I'm not worthless. So that's how I did. That's how my triathlon came into my life.
In fact, after 2013, you didn't do a full, right? Did you
No,
do
I've
the?
not done a full. I was supposed to do a full in California, but then something happened. I had an injury in my ankle, and then second year I fell sick, and I said, okay, full is not happening. Let me do a triathlon. So I said maybe I might do a full sometime next year or the year after. I don't know when that would be, but I came close to doing a full. But then again, the training alone was becoming very daunting because I did not have Amit to
Okay.
train with. I did not have a community like MRR to train with. So I said, okay, let me do a triathlon.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I remember you doing uh, uh, lot of there the runs are like 32 kilometers, and odd runs are there, right? Compared to
Yeah, you
India,
have
where
a
we have
10
20.
miler. You have a 10 miler, which is 16 K. You have 32K. You have 30K runs. So you have different distances, which is very helpful for runners who do not want to do, if they think 21 is too less or 42 is too much. So they can do the interim distance. So that way they
Correct.
also gain a sense of satisfaction. So yeah, I think they should incorporate this even in India, and I think they are already. So
Yeah, in fact,
that's a,
in fact, Satish sir, I mean, he's there watching. You know, even in South Africa, if you go to Thailand or anywhere, so they have this, odd distances. Probably, if any of the organizers here who are event organizers, if they are watching, that's a good thing to do. You know, a lot of people will be participating in it. So
it
thanks,
would
Shweta,
also
for
be a
giving
good
an idea.
Yeah, it would also be a good training run for those who are training for their full. And what happened, Vijay, was many a time I was running alone here in Stanford campus. So I would run many races in California because I didn't want to run alone. Besides, I would get hydration support. So all the races that I've run in California were mainly training runs. So if probably organizers in India could organize these odd distance runs, it would also become a training run for those who are doing their full, and they'll also get
True, true.
hydration support. So I think it's a good idea
Okay.
to incorporate that.
So, how did you overcome the fear of open water? You know, it's not easy. Let me tell you, it's not easy when suddenly you're told कि you have to swim in open water. That you get scared because being there, I know that. And from there on, from pool to open water, how was that journey, Shweta? Because lot of us are aspiring triathletes, lot of them, so it would be a good thing for people to understand. So if you can throw some light there.
It was a roller coaster ride. In fact, that's the experience I've penned down in my upcoming book, which is called A Turbulent Mind. Vijay, I was swimming strong in the pool, and I said open water is going to be a piece of cake. And when I went to the ocean was like pretty cold. It was almost in its 50s Fahrenheit. So you can imagine how cold it was. Despite wearing a wetsuit, you know, I was freezing. I felt as if I had entered, a melted glacier. It was that cold. And I said, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to be a triathlete and I cannot swim in open water. And then the coaches there really helped me. They helped me warm up in water. They said it'll take you a bit of time, but, just keep going. I couldn't put my face inside water because, I would start losing breath because the water was so cold and I would just lose my breath. And I swam for one whole year with my head up and I would do freestyle. It was the most awkward freestyle, the wrong technique. It was only during my Ironman race, 70.3 race, I actually put my head in water because I knew I had no choice. And it took me 1 year almost to overcome my fear of open water, Vijay. Took me one whole year. And I'm still scared of open water. But I believe it's good to be scared because then you don't take the ocean for granted. You always respect nature. And the learning continues, Vijay. I mean, I still have a lot to learn and that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, in fact, that's one quality of Shweta, like if I have to take a second lesson from here, keep learning. You have been an example for all of us. You keep on learning in spite of you being such a good writer, author. Still you read, still you do lots and lots of courses. So that's an example for all of us. Because many a time what happens is you become complacent, like okay, but then you feel that okay, I've achieved that, but you are one person everyone should look up to. I can also say that that fear of open water, when I remember one of our when after academy days, when I was posted into ship, there is a annual physical test wherein in one of those things you will have to jump from the forecastle of the ship. So the first thing a lot of people would be like, अरे धक्का मत मारना नहीं तो शार्क के मुंह में चले जाएंगे, mid water. So I can imagine that fear. So thanks, Shweta. I think lot of them. And one of the thing everyone appreciates about Shweta is that you are a person who acknowledge everyone, whether it's a Facebook post or anything. You are there to get back to them. A lot of us either have don't find the motivation or you just miss it on. But I think probably you are the only one whom I have seen. Probably SN is another person who I see. The acknowledge everyone. So thanks to both of you. SN is also watching this. Satmeet sir is another person. So next thing, Shweta, how important, now the transition from a runner to a triathlete. So what was the major role of the change of training pattern? What was the major role of the training pattern? Because now there is a running, now there is a cycling, now there is a swimming. Plus you have to take care. You are abroad. The weather conditions there. Plus your college and then Samira over there, and being a homemaker. How difficult this is. Even if I think that it becomes very difficult to think that. So yes, your take.
So in running, I was mainly training for half marathons in India. So the running involved probably 3 to 4 days of running, 2 days of strength training, and 1 day of rest and recovery. So I was done with my training in the morning, and the rest of the day I could manage just doing my work. And of course, in India, I had a lot of support system and domestic help to take care of my cooking and cleaning. So I really had a lot more time in India. But when I moved to the US, I did not have that kind of help. You got to do everything by yourself. So it was challenging managing housework and also my classes and also adjusting in a new place like the US. And in a triathlon, you're training for 3 different disciplines: the swim, bike, and run. So when you're training for a tri, you do 2 workouts in a day. When you do swim in the morning, then you do a bike ride in the evening, or you do a bike ride in the morning, you do a run in the evening. So it's very demanding in that aspect. So it was very, very challenging. And there were times I really missed running. I felt running was easier. Why did I even opt for a try? Because it's very demanding, especially the Ironman 70.3 race. If you look at Viv's plan, it's pretty challenging, and you need to commit that number of hours for training. So it was very difficult. It wasn't easy. I had a lot of self-doubts, a lot of inhibitions, and I wondered whether I really wanted to do this. But thanks to Amit and Samara, who've been extremely supportive, I did manage to train for a try. But it's very different. Like I said, like in running, you just do your speed workout, your tempo runs, your long runs, and you're done. But in a try, you do speed workout in the pool, you do spinning on the bike, then speed intervals in a run, and you do long swims, long bike rides, long runs. So weekends also go for a toss. Your social life goes for a toss. Your personal life goes for a toss because you need to recover. The recovery also takes that much time. So it's not easy by any means, not at all easy. And that's what is very humbling about the whole sport.
Yeah, so the so two lessons I took here. So the first one, initially, in this talk was mind. Second one was keep on learning. Third one was that, डर के आगे जीत है, that you are a perfect example of डर के आगे जीत है. And the fourth one I would say is the perfect time management, managing everything, managing the training, managing house, managing studies. So here goes a perfect example. So as SN say, do you sleep?
I do sleep. Of course, I make sure I get 8 hours of sleep in a day. I think SN also asked me the question that I always see you, active. So when do you sleep? I said, of course I do. 8 hours in a day, I get my sleep. I make sure I sleep. So
Your view on the importance of rest and sleep, So
yes.
what's your take on rest? And because see, what happens is now because of lockdown, you get ample time and this thing to recover. We are recovering from last 3 months. Earlier, that was the biggest problem. You are not recovered. So now we are recovering from 3 months. So many a time we used to do a training run. There would be something in the night. You're late from office, so you hardly sleep for 5-6 hours, and you are up for a run. So a lot of us do, and then when sense prevailed, some injury happened. We go back to the basics of 6 hours, minimum 6 hours of sleep. So now so it's different scenario itself. So what's your take on sleep and recovery, Swetha?
Recovery is a very vital part of training. In fact, one of my mentors, Ashok Someshwar, keeps saying that if your body feels fatigued or you feel very tired, it's okay if you take 1 or 2 days of rest. Don't work out when you're feeling tired because you're abusing your body, and then it might result in something so bad that it'll take you a while to even recover and get your body back to normal. And that's a mistake I made back in 2010. I had fever. And I went to the gym to work out, and I said, despite fever, I'll work out. I landed in a hospital for 10 days, and, I said it was not worth it. So never work out when you're feeling tired. It's okay to miss a workout. Recovery is very, very important. You need to sleep for at least 7 to 8 hours in a day, and especially before a race, because you don't know what's going on inside your body. I mean, you might feel fine when you wake up in the morning after 5 hours of sleep, but then when you're running, something happens, you collapse, then who's to blame? So if you fall sick also on a race day morning, do not run the race. It's okay if you miss this race. There are many more races to come. That's what happened to me in 2017. I had trained very hard for the Mumbai Marathon. On race morning, I don't know what happened. I just woke up and I threw up, and it was a hard decision, but I said, I'm not running the Mumbai Marathon. And that was something that the whole city was running that morning. And I knew I'm going to be missing all the fun, but I said, no, my health comes first. So guys, one message is for me, like, health comes first. Your body is your temple. Do not abuse it.
Yeah, in fact, Swetha is one person who reads. In fact, she research about training, running. She has mentors, good friends who are. So one more take from here from you is that rest and recovery is a very important aspect of a training. And I'm sure. How do you take care during your triathlon trainings? Because compared to running, it's very demanding, as we discussed. So do you also take care about your sleep during this training period?
Very much. In fact, my main tri training is from May to August, because my Ironman race is every year in September. So May to August is when my peak training is. At that time, I do not take much of workload. My courses are very light at that point in time, and I do not read that much. So my whole day is spent in training or recovery. So I prioritize. It's about prioritizing. If that's your tri season, then you don't take up any other aspects so much, so that you get time to recover and you train. Of course, there have been days when I've taken 3-4 days off because I'm not recovered from my swim or bike rides or runs, but it's okay because you need to
So
feel fresh.
how easy was the bike part? We know you run. We heard about your swimming aspect. So how difficult or easy was the bike aspect?
Okay, so I have never ridden a road bike before coming to California, so that was a good experience for me. Uh, in California, the terrains are pretty hilly. So I remember I was at this Ironman training camp in July, and it was really hot that day, and I had to bike up this hill. I gave up. I said I couldn't do it. So for me, biking on hills became another thing that I learned during my triathlon journey. So it was challenging. It was difficult. I feel running on hills is biking on hills. All the cleats, people wear cleats, and they say that when you bike with cleats, it becomes a lot easier, especially on hills. But I never wore cleats. I just wore normal running shoes and I would bike. And I did 2 Ironman races just doing that. I never wore cleats. So biking on hills again was very, very challenging. But again, it's in the mind. You just keep going. You just tell yourself you can keep going. And that's how you go about it. It was a good experience. And you have lovely courses out here. You have views of the ocean in your biking. So yeah, it's beautiful, but it's tough again.
Okay. And then coming back again, what's the role of nutrition? How careful are you about your nutrition? Because this training are all very demanding. So if your take on that aspect.
Yeah, so when I'm training for a triathlon, again, nutrition depends on from each person to person. So what might agree with me may not agree with the other person. So for me, what I do is I have quinoa, I have protein shakes, I have mostly home cooked food like dal or green vegetables, or I have green tea, nuts. I don't have roti or rice, and I can manage my training without having roti or rice. But I have a lot of fruits and vegetables. I have a lot of dal. What I do is before a race, for carb loading, I have pad thai noodles, and that's something that really works for me. And
Okay.
yeah, otherwise I don't really indulge or such. I don't have sweets. I don't have cakes. So I have a very strict diet regime. I keep eating every 2 hours, and of course, post a race, I have a glass of wine, and I think that's I deserve it. So.
In fact, you said about noodles, right? Carb
Yeah, pad
loading.
thai noodles. Yeah.
Okay, guys, two things. So secret of Swetha is Bartai noodles and wine after your race. So now there will be
Yeah.
a huge, rush towards wine shop after that. We just want some reason, and we just
After
emulate. Okay,
every triathlon race, I make sure I have a glass of wine. So because
yeah, yeah,
it's a tough one. All the courses here are tough, so I feel I deserve that. I've earned it. So
yeah.
besides the
In fact,
medal, of course.
I know a lot of wine lovers. Reggie is there. Reggie is the hardcore wine guy. So
Yeah.
so good to know that. So
Yeah.
again, during your races and other things, a lot of people take nutritions, like Fasten Up or any other brand. So or supplement or anything. Your take on that?
Yeah, I have Gatorade. I have good during the race. I have a lot of Gatorade and Goo gels, energy gels. I have energy bars. They are called Cliff bars. They come in different flavors. You have choco walnut brownie. You have strawberry banana and Goo gels. So I normally take a lot of energy bars, Goo gels, and I have a lot of Gatorade during my races. Yeah. So
Okay.
and
So
supplements, not really. No.
okay. So how often do you do the strength training?
Very important. Twice a week. I do upper body, I do lower body, and I do at least core strength training for at least 3-4 days in a week. That's strength training is
Okay.
very important. It always prevents injuries. And I've seen that for me, that whenever I stop strength training, I get an injury or so. So as long as I continue strength training, for me, it prevents injuries. And it also helps me run better, helps me bike better, helps me swim better. And like how the Kavach and Kundal was very vital for Karna, for me, strength training is equivalent to that for me. As
Oh,
long as I do
wow.
strength training, I don't get injury. Yeah.
In fact, that's a nice perspective, Shweta. In fact, yesterday we discussed Palace of Illusions.
Mahabharata. Yeah.
So, yeah, so, coming back to this question again. So, this is what happened. Personally, me, strength training was one aspect which I missed. So, thanks to lockdown, now every day it's only
Mm-hmm.
strength training. No other thing to do. So,
Yeah.
last 10 years, strength training is done in this 3 months. So, how your training being taken care of in this lockdown period? If you can touch upon that, what are you doing in lockdown period there?
Yeah, so I can't run here, and all the swimming pools are closed. But now I think in California you can start running outdoors. So I'll probably start
Okay.
running from next week onwards. But otherwise, during the lockdown period, I had a trainer. I had my Wahoo kicker trainer. So I would bike on my trainer for at least an hour.
Okay.
I would incorporate a lot of CrossFit in my workout. I followed a lot of Mumbai road runners workouts like Suki's Tabata workout, Kulwant Singh's Khalsa's workout, and I'm doing a lot of yoga. I'm doing a lot of dance workouts. So I'm doing some different workouts, and actually helpful because your muscles are not used to that kind of workout. It's so it actually helps your body in a lot of ways. Like if you keep doing the same workout, it won't have an effect on your body. So if you do different workouts, then you do see results. And I would say that lockdown was a blessing in disguise in that manner. So,
Yeah, good.
mhm.
So aspiring defense aspiring, for armed forces. A lot of them are
Mhm.
also watching this. So Jai Hind to all of them. So Jai
Jai
Hind, that
Hind.
is great. Yeah. So so how important is the role of coach? So your coach and my coach both are same. So how tough your coach is?
Viv is the most understanding coach I can ever get. And I remember when I told him I want to do the Ironman race and should I do it and everything, and he's the one who had more faith in my abilities more than I did. And he said, "You can do the Ironman 70.3 race. I'll help you. I'll give you the training plan." And every journey, every step, he's been a wonderful support. And even in fact, not many people know this, and that's what I mentioned in my book, that I had signed up for one Ironman race, and I did not do that race because when I went for the training camp, I felt the course was very tough, and I said I don't want to do this race. And I told Viv that I don't think Ironman 70.3 race is for me. And then he said, "No, I think you have the potential to do it. You just don't know." So then I went and did another Ironman 70.3 race. But I think the coach believes you more than what you believe in yourself. And I feel when you know that someone has that faith, that kind of faith in you to take that leap, I think nothing stops you. And that's where the role of a coach comes in. That when you know that somebody is standing behind you, believing in your abilities, nothing can ever stop you. You feel impossible is nothing. So kudos to Viv for that. I'm really lucky to have him as my coach.
And he's a coach who believes only in data, nothing else.
Yeah, he's very scientific also. So he looks at the data. He'll predict your timing accurately. Like last year
Yeah,
when
that's
I said what's my prediction time? The 70.3. He said 7:30 to 7:35, and he was bang on target because I
in
finished it
fact
in 7:34. So
last 2-3 years from the time I'm training with him, my he predicts my time, and that's exactly that's exactly what happens. So the next question:
yeah.
how was that feeling of crossing first time being a 70.3, being an Ironman? What was that feeling the first time?
My God. So this is a dream I've been harboring for the last 1 year. And even on race morning, so in the Ironman 70.3 race, you have stringent cutoffs for each discipline. So you have 70 minutes for the swim. Then you have the swim transition one bike. You have to finish that in 5.5 hours. Then you have the entire race, which you need to finish in 8.5 hours, including the runs. So that race morning, I wasn't sure if I would even cross the finish line. I would even make the swim cutoff line. It was unbelievable. I was like, did I really cross the finish line? I kept pinching myself and seeing, was I really in a dream? It took me a while for the whole feeling to sink in that I finished the Ironman 70.3 race. And I remember asking the volunteer, did I really cross the finish line? She's like, yeah, of course you did, but I have plenty of time to spare for the cutoff. So I was like, it was very overwhelming, Vijay. I had tears pouring down my cheeks, and I felt it was something that I thought was beyond my reach. And here it was, I'm holding the medal in my hands. It was a very surreal moment, in short. And that's what is my whole book about, my whole journey about what it felt like to cross the finish line. It's just an unbelievable moment. Yeah.
In fact, hearing you, I can visualize that moment when you cross. All of us can actually visualize that moment. So great one, Swetha. So now we want to see Amit. Amit is there because I'm sure Amit is one of the biggest support. Everyone wants to see Amit in India. Amit. So before I take some other questions, so ladies and gentlemen, here is the behind every successful woman there is a man, and was that?
I'm a bubble runner.
Okay, bubble runner. Guys, here is Amit, and Amit is one of the biggest support for Swetha, and the man
My pillar
behind.
of support, honestly, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
So
Amit. You look great.
Running here outdoors.
Okay.
I just want to give brief post-corona world. So I'm doing now every back-to-back sub 60 runs on 10K every day.
Oh wow!
That's
wow.
my new strength training.
Good, yeah, good. Thanks, Amit. Thanks seeing you. Thanks for being there. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your support, Vijay, and everybody who came in today. I think I don't want to steal her thunder, but I think really, we have really survived the last 3 years on all your support and all your good wishes. Quite honestly,
like
this is just
all of your friends. Yeah, all of your friends. Yes.
Yeah.
So Swetha, we have few more minutes. I mean, before Instagram throws out us.
Yeah.
So coming to your book, before we go to book, so you have interviewed many authors, very big authors like Khalid Hosseini, and so what was the most memorable interview you ever took?
Lord Jeffrey Archer in 2015. Okay. Yeah, because it was very surreal again. Yeah, so I was interviewing Kinjal Shah, who was the CEO of Crossword a month before, and then he said, "Would you like to interview Jeffrey Archer?" And he's coming down this month to Crossword. I was like, "Really? Of course, why not?" And then when I met Jeffrey Archer later, and my hands are freezing. My heart was like pounding. I'm like, this is the guy whose books I had seen on my shelves. And I remember my mom giving me Cain and Abel when I was in 9th grade, saying that your writing is terrible. Read this author's work, your writing will improve. And after many years, I'm actually interviewing the same author, and it was just unbelievable. He was very polite, very sweet. And I told him this incident, that it was wonderful interviewing you. And, you're one of the first books that I read of yours was Cain and Abel in my 9th grade. And my mother said that she's also a big fan of yours. And it was beautiful. It was just amazing. Yeah. So that's my most memorable moment, because, seeing the second one was Mitch Albom of Tuesdays at Frame. I interviewed him also. I met him, in fact, in December when I was in California, and when he was in California, and I interviewed him recently. And it was again amazing. Again, a surreal moment. I told him that also, that I was in college and I read Tuesdays with Murray, and it's amazing just to be interviewing and meeting you. So
that's Mitch Albom, right?
Mitch Albom, yeah. The guy who wrote The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. Yeah.
Murray, okay. That's great. And then now coming to your space now, so because we have left 5 minutes of time, and now tell us about your upcoming book, Swetha. Because I'm sure all of us would love to, have that copy, and you will be a published author soon, right?
Yeah,
and
hopefully.
There a couple of other works which are going to materialize. If you can tell us about that journey.
Yeah. So my book is called A Turbulent Mind, which talks about my 1 year journey to Ironman 70.3 race. And it talks about a lot of challenges that I went through. It talks about how I overcame the fear of open water. It talks about the whole nuances of the sport called triathlon, what kind of bike. Like it talks about the wetsuit requirements, it talks about the bike, it talks about also the run aspect, it talks about nutrition, it talks also about my entire journey, about the struggles, my challenges, my inhibitions, my self-doubts, inability to fit in with the community around me, and almost giving up my dream, injuries. It's a roller coaster ride. So I would say the readers would be treated to a roller coaster ride when they read my book. And yeah, it should be out in probably in a couple of months. It should go for printing next week, and hopefully if things go fine, it should release in another 2 to 3 months. And this should be read by most aspiring athletes and people who want to migrate from runner to triathlons. I think this would be a good read for them. It would be a good read for a lot of other triathletes also, and because they can resonate with what a triathlete is feeling. So yeah, I'm just hoping that all of you buy and read my book.
Yeah. In fact, why restrict this to be inspiring story, a story of motivation, wherein like everyone who reads this will know that the beautiful journey of yours from 2012 till now. So I think every one of us should read Shweta's book, and that would be published by Crossword, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, the right
Crossword.
place. Yeah, that's right.
The right
Yeah.
place. Okay. And then you
Yeah.
also have many your anthologies coming.
There's one anthology, and there is one anthology journal, which is about an essay I wrote about interviewing different stories. Then there's an anthology on poems, and there is one anthology by the lockdown. They are coming up with their own stories, so that should also be out soon.
Swetha, so all of us are looking to read that book, and I must say that it's a beautiful journey of yours, and all of us who are here, at this point of time in the evening, everyone wanted to hear and know Swetha Amit, the story of Swetha Amit, and yes, definitely, Turbulent Mind would be a TBR for all of us as soon as it launches, and so. That's it, Swetha, because someone your relation with your grandparents, how was their support in your journey?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, in fact, someone had asked this question: how's support of your grandparents in your journey?
Samara's grandparents, well, in India, they were of huge support because they would take care of Samara whenever Amit and I would go for our runs. So they were pretty supportive. Yes, a huge, big support. So yeah, definitely kudos to them for doing that. They were very supportive. Both my parents and Amit's parents were supportive. Like they would come and look after Samara, and that's how we could go for our runs in India. Yeah, of course, here we don't have any kind of support. So we've got to manage our training by ourselves, which is tough. So.
True. So now, a couple of quick questions. Who's your favorite athlete? I have 1 more minute before Instagram throws us out. So, who's your favorite athlete?
I recently read a book called Crawl of Fame by Julie Moss, who came second in 1989 in the Iron War, which is in Kona, Ironman Kona. So because after 30 years, she bettered her timing in Kona by at least 30 minutes. So she's one of my favorite athletes. I thought she was pretty inspiring.
Okay. And one of your favorite races?
Of course.
One of your favorite?
In India or in California?
In India.
In India?
Yeah, in India.
Tough one. I like Satara Hill Marathon because I like Durshet. I very tough to pay. Very